Orange is the New Black is where we dive in. Every episode we'll discuss, even the scenes that made us cuss. So follow me, join the spree. I try to space for 2 E's. Spoilers everywhere, so be warned. Super fans, please come on board. Susie's special line and all these ideas, because we make it everything truly as it is.
Hello, and welcome to Yadda Space. I'm Yadda, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a rewatch podcast for the Netflix TV show Orange is the New Black. Every Tuesday, I'll be recapping one episode of the show with you, but please keep in mind that this is a rewatch podcast. That means that there may be spoilers about things that happen in the future episodes, so please be warned. This is definitely a spoiler zone. On today's episode of our Orange is the New Black rewatch, we will be discussing Season 1, Episode 5, titled The Chickening. The IMDb synopsis for this episode states, while on the lawn one morning, Piper sees a chicken roosting nearby on the grass. When she tells other inmates about the odd sighting, Piper discovers that the chicken is actually a prison legend that several inmates have tried to catch for years. The complicated history between Aleida Diaz and her daughter Dayanara Diaz comes to light. So we will be getting a backstory on the Diazes. I forget who said it like that in season 7, but that was so funny to me. The Diazes. So we will start to see their backstory in this episode, which is really great. We're going to get into some generational trauma and some real life mother-daughter dynamics. Andrew McCarthy is the director of this episode. He's best known for his acting in classic movies like Pretty in Pink and Weekend at Bernie's. This is the first of 15 episodes that he's directed for Orange, so we will be seeing him again. I see Nick Jones listed as the writer on this episode. He's best known for his work on 26 episodes of Orange, as well as the series Glow. And I know that there's more than one person in the writer's room, so I'd like to give a shout out to the whole writing team. Thank you all for writing such a great show. You guys told the stories that weren't being told, and for that, we thank you. The IMDb rating for this episode is a 7.8. So that means it seems like it's a pretty good episode. Not quite as good as last week's 8, but a 7.8 is still a pretty good rating. So as always, at the end of this pod, I will give my personal episode rating. I encourage you guys to go ahead and write your episode rating in the comments so that we can get an idea of what we the people think is actually the rating on this episode. So the episode opens up and we're seeing our first Sunday here at Litchfield. We have the announcements over the loudspeaker, and they're talking about all of the different services that they have at the chapel. They have Catholic services, evangelical, Wiccan, Baptist, other, and Muslim, which is interesting that they say other and then Muslim, but okay. And I don't know what other is actually, so neither here nor there. The idea is it's Sunday, and it's the first Sunday that we're seeing Piper here at prison. Piper's waking up and Miss Claudette is already up. She's gone. Her bed is made and pristine. Piper gets up and there's this light, easy listening music playing, talking about Sunday morning. And Piper's grabbing her book, grabbing her little snack as if she's going to have this very relaxing Sunday morning. You know, just a nice little brunch on the patio. But she's here in prison. It's a really peaceful day. Piper sees some ladies out on the lawn doing yoga, and now she's going over to sit by the tree to read her book and have her little snack. It's just a nice, calm Sunday morning. As Piper picks up her book, she hears a chicken. And so she looks over, and sure enough, there is a little brown chicken sitting there right beside her in the grass. Piper's looking around like, is anybody else seeing this? Is it just me? It must be just me. I must be going crazy. But no, Piper, you're not going crazy. There's actually a chicken standing there. As far as we can see, there's actually a chicken standing there. To tell you the truth, I never really understood the thing with the chicken. I'm not sure myself if it was real or fake. I want to believe it was real, but I like it as also a symbol of hope and freedom for the ladies. Well, what a transition. The next thing that we hear is come closer. Fuck me, God. We're seeing like these stained glass windows. We're in the chapel right now, and the camera is lowering down to Morello and Nicky having a personal moment right on the altar. Just there they are. After the ladies finish, Morello's telling Nicky, we have to stop. We can't do this anymore because I'm engaged. Yeah, that's a kind of important detail. She's engaged. Asterisk. So she feels like she should not be doing this anymore. Nicky's perfectly willing to cross her boundaries here. And she's like, well, hey, that means you should just get it in while you can. And Morello is insisting, no, it's not fair to Christopher. I'm not willing to keep this going right now. Morello insists this was the last time. Just as Nicky was asking for a little bit of reciprocation from Morello, one last time, the lights come on and other people are coming into the chapel for services. So Nicky and Morello go and hide behind the altar, and we're seeing Pennsatucky and Sister Angles at the chapel door. Pennsatucky, aka Tiffany. I might use Tiffany, I might use Pennsatucky. I use both of her names pretty interchangeably. Towards the beginning here, she's known more as Pennsatucky or Doggett. But anyways, Pennsatucky is here. And she's one of those characters that we haven't seen so much as of yet, but she becomes a much more important character as time goes on. She's one of those characters that I really love how her story takes her on a journey, how much she grows throughout the course of the series. By the end of the series, I am just like a Pennsatucky fan. I love Tiffany. She's fantastic. And her ending on this show makes me cry every single time. So, you wouldn't know that when you hear some of my thoughts on her in these earlier seasons, but by the end, I get there and, I come to love Tiffany very, very much. Anyways, Tiffany is here and she's wanting to put up this giant cross that she made for her church services. But whoever this is that's overseeing their activities is telling her, no, you have to get that out of here. The lady that's overseeing the services is telling Pennsatucky that the cross can't stay because it's too big. If it's not something that can be taken down before the next service, it cannot stay. Tiffany's like, but it's gonna glow in the dark. Like, come on, it's really cool. No, still no. Sorry, Tiffany. You can't keep it. So Pennsatucky says fine. She goes to carry it out of the chapel, but of course the way she's carrying it, she looks like she's carrying it as if she's literally Jesus on the cross, which I don't know how sensitive that is to Christians. I was raised Christian, but I don't find it too offensive, but I do understand how it might be offensive to some people. The lady who's overseeing everything says, well, this chapel is not just for Christians. Tiffany thinks that if she was a Catholic, that this would be a different story. And the lady says, no, that's not true. Tiffany's like, yeah, it is, because you and the Pope's bitch are running this place. Talking about Sister Angles. Oh my goodness. I like Sister Angles. She has a little comeback and says, I like to think of myself as more of the Pope's homie. Tiffany feels like the lady is discriminating against her. She says that she treats everybody better than her. She's saying that the lady lets the witch ladies go for walks, but the lady's like, well, yeah, I would do the same thing for you if your religion required that you have to commune with nature. Tiffany's like, I don't want to walk. I want to hang this damn cross because it's my religious freedom and you're violating it. Okay, stand on business, Tiffany. The next thing that we hear is Boo saying, you could sue. And we come to find out she's talking to Sophia, telling her basically that she could sue the state because she's not getting her correct meds right now. So Boo asks Sophia, what's going on with her? Is it similar to menopause? And Sophia's like, yeah, basically. Same idea. She doesn't have enough lady juice, not enough estrogen. So, she's going to have the same effects that other women that go through menopause have. Boo tells Sophia that she should get estrogen pills from some of the older ladies in the prison, the ones that have gone through menopause, And Sophia's saying they don't care about a felon's hot flashes. They don't get those kind of pills. But Boo says, I'm pretty sure the nun gets it. I see her on the pill line with me. She even backs it up with the name of the pill that she takes. Apparently, Sister Angles is getting gynotabs. It looks like Sophia recognizes that name, so maybe she will reach out to Sister Angles and see what's up with those pills. In the next scene, we see Dayanara and she's talking to her mom. She's telling her, you don't fucking talk to me, but you want me to thread your eyebrows? To which Aleida says, nobody else can do them right. These two and their dynamic, well, I have to show my cards a little bit. It reminds me so much of me and my mom in some of the best and some of the worst ways possible. This dynamic here, where Aleida is not even speaking to Daya, but yet wants Daya to do something for her. Classic my mom. So I feel you, Daya. I totally understand what you're feeling here with this lady. Aleida says, this is what we do. We're family. We fight, but we also do shit for each other. And Daya's like, well, okay, will you let me play some dominoes with you guys? But Aleida won't even give her that. Aleida's like, you can keep score. So Daya asks her mom for some thread. Aleida doesn't have any, but she does immediately get up and give Daya a bag of what looks like maybe corn. She tells Daya to go see if Gloria will trade with her. Aleida even goes further and says, and if not, I'll pull some threads from my jacket. Like, that also, my mom, she comes off really harsh and she's so wrong in so many ways. But underneath all of that, look at what Aleida is willing to go through for Daya. She's willing to go to the ends, even to go ahead and pull out the threads from her own jacket, just so Daya can have some thread, probably for some art project that she's doing. Aleida didn't even ask what it was for. She's just like, yeah, if you need it, if you can't find it, I'll go ahead and pull it out of my jacket for you. That too, while my mom was difficult, she also could have a heart of gold. So I love that. And I love seeing that in Aleida. So as Daya turns to leave out of Aleida's bunk area, she runs into Bennett and he's all like, hey, what are you doing? Like trying to be all, I'm a CEO, like, guy, nobody's scared of you. So he's like, what are you doing? And Daya's like, I'm just trading corn. Bennett tells her inmates are not allowed to barter. And Daya's like, what the fuck is barter? And Bennett says, trade. She's like, oh, come on, give me a break. Everybody trades. Why are you messing with me, basically? Leave me alone. So he's being Mr. Tough Guy with her. And he's like, hey, do you want to get written up? And she's like, what do you want from me? And he's like, what do I want? Less attitude. You got that? Mr. Tough Guy. He's absolutely putting on a show just to look like he's not giving her preferential treatment like we saw when he let her keep the art up in front of Maria. Well, this time he's making this whole scene to show that he's being tough with her, like he would be tough with anybody else. But I think he's going a little over the top if you ask me, but okay, Mr. Tough Guy. But anyways, as he grabs her arm, he secretly puts something in her pocket. It looks like a note or something, so I guess we'll figure out what that is. He tells her, you're not in charge here, I am. And she's looking at him like, yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Officer. He makes her give him the corn, and she does. But as Bennett walks away, we see Aleida is looking at this whole interaction like, what you got going on over there, little girl? As the camera pans out, we see that Daya has the attention of the entire dorm. So she plays it up. She's like, damn, y'all saw that? Like, he took my corn. Damn it. Man. Aleida is not buying it, not one bit. She knows when her daughter is lying, and Daya looks like she knows that she knows. So we'll see where this goes. In the next scene, we see Piper walk into the rec room. We see Piper noticing Alex and Alex noticing Piper, but of course they're not speaking and they're not acknowledging each other, but they see each other. Piper chooses to not sit with Alex and sits down with Morello, Norma, and Gina instead. Piper is sitting here telling Morello how nice it is outside and how beautiful the leaves are in the fall. But Morello's like, yeah, I got myself incarcerated just so I could see the changing colors. Like, yeah, beautiful. That's why I'm here, just to look at the leaves. So Piper's telling Morello about her time outside. She's like, I had my tea. It was almost hot. I had my book. It was almost good. And I saw a chicken. That's when Morello looks up like, a chicken? What do you mean you saw a chicken? And Gina turns around and Norma looks up. They all have this knowing, and Piper's looking like, okay, like what? What's the deal? Morello clarifies. She's like, so you saw a chicken, a real live chicken, like in the flesh? And that's when Norma and Gina get up and leave the room. They just get up and dip. And Piper's like, what's going on? Morello simply says, you need to talk to Red. Piper's like, about what? Morello's like, you just need to talk to her. So why does Piper need to talk to Red? I'm not quite sure. It's been a long time since I've watched season 1 again. So a lot of this is kind of new again to me. So we'll find out together. So in the next scene, we're seeing Daya. She's entering the bathroom stall and she's opening up the note from Bennett. It says, I'm sorry. I'm under a lot of pressure to act like a dick. Leave me notes by the tobacco shack? ? So their spot is that little cubby where they shared tobacco that one time. This is also confirmation that apparently somebody is noticing that he's giving some special treatment. So he's getting pressure to act more aggressively towards the inmates. So that won't ever go well. Daya looks so excited to get this note. She's smiling like she's a little middle schooler with her first crush. She takes the note and she crumples it up and throws it in the toilet to flush it down. You know, get rid of your evidence, girl. I see you. Daya flushing the toilet is what triggers the transition to get us into the next scene, which is Daya's first flashback scene. We're hearing Daya's sister saying, Dayanara, I unclogged the toilet. She says there was a Barbie in it. I guess one of the kids put a Barbie in there. We see Daya's in the living room. She's in there with 1, 2, 3, 4 of her siblings. Her little sister tells her, sorry, Barbie wanted to go scuba diving. That's the reason why Barbie was in the toilet. So her little sister Eva is running away from Daya, and she speeds right on past Aleida, who looks like she's ready to go out somewhere. Aleida's like, okay, you're dirty. Please get your nasty fingers off me. She's not trying to get touched by little kid hands right now because she's on her way out the door. That's when Eva tells her mom that Daya was trying to hit her. And Aleida's like, you're going to hit your sister? Daya tells her she flushed the Barbie down the toilet. That's when Aleida decides to jump into action. She grabs Eva and she's like, you mean the Barbie that Cesar gave you? Do you think Barbies grow on trees? Do you think toilets grow on trees? So I guess now that it's messing with her money and messing with the ego of the person who gives her money, now it's a problem for Aleida. So Aleida's like, do you think Barbies grow on trees? Do you think toilets grow on trees? No. What grows on trees? And so Eva goes, nothing. And Aleida's like, that's right. Really? Nothing grows on trees? Absolutely nothing. Nothing grows on trees, apparently, according to Aleida. Aleida says that she's got to go. She's got better things to do. She tells Daya to get the kids a pizza if they're hungry. And then she yells out, I'm eating oysters, bitches. Like, okay. She gives no care to what her kids are doing, leaving her kids with their big sister. She doesn't really care what they're eating. Get them a pizza, I guess, whatever. But me, I'm eating oysters and I'm going to throw it in your face. Like, nice job, mom. Nice job, Aleida. These are your kids. And this is how you're treating them? Nice. When Aleida leaves, Daya looks out the window and she sees Aleida outside with Cesar. That's when Eva says, I want oysters. And Daya's like, no, you don't. No, you don't, little girl. Well, maybe you don't want to get them in the way that your mother gets them, at least. In the next scene, we're in Red's kitchen and she's looking at Piper talking about, you're sure it was a chicken, not a pigeon? Gina is there, Norma is there, Morello is there, and they're all going through all the birds. Was it a grouse? Was it a pigeon? Was it a quail? And Piper's like, it was a chicken, guys. I know what a chicken looks like. I'm telling you, it was a chicken. What is the big deal? So that's when Gina starts in on the legend. We get some funky music and Gina goes, there are no chickens around here, except for one. Morello pipes in and she's like, they say she lived on a farm near here. And Gina continues, until one night, the night before all the other chickens were slaughtered, she escaped. And she's been out there ever since, living off the land, living on her wits. That's when Nicky comes in and she's like, hey, what's going on? Gina's like, the chicken's back. And Nicky goes, give me a break. Mom, there is no chicken. Talking to Red. Because as we know, Red is Nicky's prison mom. Red is like, you're wrong. She saw it. Nicky's like, a word? Then how did it get over the fence? Piper's like, I don't know. It flew. Like, listen, lady, I didn't see it come over. I just saw it here. Nicky says, chickens don't fly. Red insists it was her. She says, I saw it in a dream. And that's when Nicky excuses herself. She's like, all right, that's my cue. Goodbye. I'm out of here. Red says that in her dream, the chicken came to her. It was already dressed in herbs and it had a little top hat tilted to one side. And she said, soon, Red, we'll be together. Soon, I will be yours. So Red is having dreams of chicken that is real, chicken that's not processed and looks like a hockey puck and tastes like wet paper. She wants real food, real chicken, which I really feel like should not be that big of an ask. I feel like, why are these women not getting real chicken? I understand money constraints, but come on. These are people. That's when Red sets off a challenge. She tells the girls, the first girl to nab that bird gets a box of Biore strips. Those little strips for your nose that take out the blackheads, I think. I think that's what she's talking about here. So they're going to go all look for this chicken so they can get some strips. I guess this is an example of prison currency. Piper's like, me too? Like, do I get a chance at this prize? And Red's like, yeah, you too. She's like, you did a good thing by bringing this to me. Maybe you're not as useless as I thought. Maybe she's not. In the next scene, we see Sophia coming up to Sister Ingalls talking about, hey, Sister Ingalls, hey girl, how was your service? And she's like, oh, it was fine. Thanks for asking. Girl, why are you cozying up to Sister Ingalls? I mean, we know, but I wonder if Sister Ingalls feels the suspicion. So Sophia is acting interested in the service that Sister Ingalls has just come from. And she's like, so what was the service about? Sister Ingalls tells her it was about overcoming sin. And Sophia's like, oh man, drat. I wish I would have caught that. Sister Ingalls is like, are you Catholic? But Sophia says no, but I think about overcoming sin, just as a person. She goes on to say, and I just love Jesus Christ. And I've always wanted to try one of those communion wafers. Okay, girl, you're going too far now. A little too far. But Sister Ingalls goes with the joke and says, well, I have a box of 1,000 and they're pretty good as a snack with dip. And they just start giggling together like they've been lifetime friends. Sister Ingalls says, oh shoot, I forgot my hat. And so she turns to go back towards the chapel. Sophia says, do you mind if I come with you? And Sister Ingalls says, no, not at all. So it looks like Sophia plans on being Sister Ingalls' shadow right now, befriending her to get the estrogen pills, I see. We see you, Sophia. You ain't slick. Oh my goodness. In the next scene, we're back in the chapel and we hear Tiffany saying, higher, higher. And they are hoisting this giant wooden cross up towards the ceiling of the chapel. She's being all critical of it. She's like, that just doesn't look centered to me. This is when Sophia and Sister Ingalls walk into the chapel. Sister Ingalls is like, excuse me, I thought you weren't allowed to put that up. Tiffany's like, oh, word? Am I allowed? Is that right? Are you sure? And Sister Ingalls is like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what she told you this morning. Tiffany says, oh yeah, that's right. You're the little church mouse that lives in her pocket. Well, I live in God's pocket. And that lady said I couldn't put it up on the walls, but she didn't say I couldn't hang it from the ceiling. So here we go. Loophole, find your loophole, girl. Sophia's like, that's not a load-bearing pipe that you're using. And I guess she would know because she was a firefighter. Tiffany says, what do you know about a load-bearing pipe, lady man? Which we all know that shows her bigotry right there with that lady man comment. But this is early Tiffany, and I can't wait to see her grow. Sister Ingalls is like, you know what? I'm gonna get my hat. I don't need to be here. I don't want no problems. I'm gonna get out of here. I don't want to get mixed up with this. Tiffany says, listen, there's not going to be any trouble, all right? As Americans, it's our right to religious freedom. She says, ain't you heard of the Third Amendment? To which Sister Ingalls says, you mean the one that says soldiers should not be given quarter in a house in times of peace? Sophia's like, is that really what the Third Amendment says? Yeah, actually it is. The religious freedom one is actually the first. That's when we hear something crack and we see Leanne holding the rope and she's saying, damn it, Tucky, I can't go back to seg, meaning she can't go back to solitary, the shoe. But the pole comes crashing down and the cross comes crashing down, absolutely destroying the altar and taking down the ceiling and most of the insulation down with it. Tiffany is looking at it like, oh my, what a shame. And then when she finally speaks, she says, welp, God has chosen to test our conviction. Okay. That's one way to look at it. Sure, he's chosen to test you in this time. In the next scene, we're seeing an excited Piper. She's sitting in Visitation with Larry and a very pregnant Polly. Side note, we also see Poussey sitting next to her with who looks to be maybe her dad sitting across from her, which is an interesting little plot point to see her in the background there talking to her dad. Nice to know that her dad came to visit her while she was there. Anyways, Piper is talking to Polly and Larry. Piper is very excited to tell them how she thinks that Red is good with her now that she told her about the chicken. And they're both like, cool, I guess. And Piper's like, okay, well, I was expecting more, but that's the big news in my small world. What do y'all got? Piper says, so what's happening with Barney's? Did you talk to Weiner? Polly is telling Piper that there's a little bit of a problem with Barney's. She's saying that they're having some doubts working with Polly and Piper because they don't have a space yet for their production. And Piper's like, well, why does he know that? He doesn't need to know that. Polly says he knows because he asked and I just told him. And then Polly, being the great friend that she is, she says, oh, I'm sorry. Should I have texted you first? Yeah, Polly's a horrible friend. Obviously, Piper cannot accept a text. She's in prison. So Polly even saying that is throwing it in Piper's face. And it's really not a nice thing to say. It's not nice. Polly's a bad friend. So Piper is expressing her concern to Polly that Barney's could take us off the shelves. To which Polly says, well, you know what? Actually, I was thinking maybe that wouldn't be such a bad idea. And Piper's like, excuse me? Polly is saying, maybe now it's not the best time for this. Piper is telling her, I quit my job for this, to which Polly says, well, yeah, and then you went to prison, which in this instance, I'm sorry, that's kind of valid. Yeah, her being in prison is definitely a point here. I'll give her that one. Polly tells Piper that if she had known that Piper wasn't going to be around, that she would have delayed the baby and got a puppy instead. She doesn't have the time to invest in the business and the baby, and obviously the baby takes priority. Piper says, Polly, I know you're having a baby, but what about our baby, Baby Poppy? That's the name of their company, in case we forgot. It's Poppy, Polly and Piper, Poppy. So she's like, what about our baby, Poppy? So Larry says since Weiner likes Piper better, maybe Piper should be the one to call and try to get the deal done. And so they're trying to figure out the logistics of making that happen. So basically, they're going to do a three-way call so that Piper can talk to Weiner. That's when they get the 2-minute warning from the guard at the front of the visitation room. She tells the room that they have 2 minutes left for visitation. To which Polly is like, damn, they give you no time. Piper's like, yeah, I know. Anyways, Larry, have you talked to your dad about Alex? She wanted to find out about Alex naming her or not. Larry's like, yeah, no, I haven't yet. And Piper's like, listen, we have 2 minutes, faster, please. Let's go. Polly asks why Larry needs to talk to his dad. And so Larry's explaining that Piper wants to know if Alex named her in the case. And Polly's like, well, why do you need to know? Piper says, so I can shove it in her face, her lying, smug little face. And that's when Piper realized that she fucked up. Because this is when Larry says, wait, hold up. She's in here with you? Meaning Alex is in here with Piper? Up until this point, Piper has not explicitly told anybody that. So this is news to Larry, and he looks kind of pissed. Larry feels like Piper lied to him, and Piper's like, listen, I didn't lie to you. I just didn't want you to worry. And girl, lying by omission is still lying. Larry says, worry about what? And Polly says that she turned gay again. I don't think that's a thing, but okay. Exactly. Piper says that's not happening, and you don't just turn gay. Exactly. That's not a thing. Piper says, yeah, so she's in here, but at any rate, she's the last person that I'd sleep with in here anyways. To which Larry says, the last? Well, who's the first? And Piper says, see, I didn't mean it like that. She's like, this is why I didn't want to tell you, because I knew you were going to act like this. What are you so afraid of? That I'm going to do something? Be gay? Like, what is the deal? He's like, well, I wasn't really worried before, but now I kind of am. To which Polly pipes in and says, classic projection. Piper says, Polly, please stay out of this. Yeah, girl, shut up. Please stay out of this. And always stay out of this. In the next scene, we get our romantic music, our little light piano music playing, and we have Daya going over to the cubby hole where she and Bennett have their spot. And Daya's got this great big smile on her face. She lifts up the coffee cup and sees a piece of gum sitting there waiting for her. So he left her a piece of gum, which is super cute. She takes it, and when she puts the cup back, she puts a little note underneath of it for him. So I guess he'll come through, grab that later. So they're having little communications through the cubbyhole right now. She looks like a little schoolgirl that's just happy that her crush is giving her attention. That brings us back to the chapel where we hear Pornstache. He's standing on top of the rubble at the front of the chapel, addressing the ladies, telling them not only is the chapel covered in asbestos, rat shit, and God knows what else. That's when Loose Check pipes in with, well, toxic mold. Sophia's looking at him like, really? That's what you're contributing? Pornstache continues, and he says that their electrical line has been compromised and now they have to run new electrical through the chapel. I think this is an absolutely rude comment. Pornstache says to Loose Check, I'm sure he'd rather have a relaxing Monday instead of having to deal with this. And he gently rubs Tiffany's hair and he says, thanks to this missed opportunity for cradle death, which is probably one of the most disgusting lines I've heard on this show. That's an absolutely horrible thing to say to somebody. Basically, he's saying because of Tiffany, they're all here with him having to put in new electrical with a little subtext of Tiffany is not worth living, which is absolutely disgusting. Pusey chimes in here and she brings up a good point. She's like, hey, why ain't she in SHU? Meaning, why isn't Tiffany in SHU? Pusey continues and says, Janae got sent to SHU for talking. That's when Bennett wants to pipe in and say, quiet or you'll go with her. Like, dude, calm down. And that's exactly what Pusey's face says. Like, I know you're not talking. Shut up. Tiffany says, it wasn't my fault. I was just doing as the spirit commanded. Okay. Pusey says, who the fuck are you, Joan of Arc? And Tiffany turns around completely serious and she goes, "No, I'm from Waynesboro. My name is Tiffany." I love her so very much. We didn't know this early that she had some learning challenges and she's working with a different kind of brain, but the signs were here right from season one. Tiffany thinks that Pusey thinks that she literally is Joan of Arc or something. No, no, Tiffany, that's not what she's saying, but it's okay, girl. I know. You're just trying your best. Pornstache interrupts them and he says to Tiffany, she knows what your fucking name is. Talking to Tiffany and Pusey, Pornstache says, and you guys can kill each other on your own time, which, interesting line given events. Kind of crazy considering how this thing goes down. That's not exactly what happens, but you know, there are losses, and that's a very interesting line directed at two very interesting characters. Pornstache, always the class act, showing his disregard for the inmates, tells Bennett to grab some retards and get started with demo, which again, we know how I feel about that word. So we see exactly how Pornstache feels about them. He's ready to degrade them every chance he gets. This is when Piper raises her hand and she's like, can we get some masks? And Sophia laughs out loud, literally. Piper goes on and she's like, for the mold and the rat shit dust, all that crap that you said is up there. Can we get some masks for that? Pusey and Nicky and all the girls in this room are looking at her like, oh, snap. Okay, you got some balls over there, Piper. Pornstache looks a little bit confused that this is coming from Piper, but he quietly does as she asked and tells Bennett to go see if he can find some dust masks in the tool shed. Pornstache tells the rest of the ladies in the chapel that they need to go outside and bring in drywall from the shed, which seems like a lot of manual labor for these ladies. I mean, some of them, like Pusey, are really tiny. I can't even imagine Pusey lifting a piece of drywall up. That's when Tiffany says, excuse me, I don't want it here, which she's pointing to Sophia and she's calling Sophia it. And we know this is just Tiffany's bigotry showing. This is early Tiffany. We will see her grow, but right now, this is where she's at. Tiffany claims that this whole thing happened, the whole ceiling falling in happened because God is angry that there's an abomination in his church, which I find that absolutely disgusting when some religious people want to use God as an excuse to treat other people like absolute garbage. I don't think that's how religion and spirituality should be used, and I find it disgusting when it's used in that way, personally. That's when Pornstache gets right in Tiffany's face and he tells her, you are not an agent of God. You know that? God can do so much better than you. You must know that, right? God, he's awful. Tiffany's like, no, what? And he says, Jesus Christ, how the fuck did you survive infancy? Which again, he's calling her stupid. And basically, because he thinks that she's stupid, he thinks that she does not deserve to live, which is absolutely disgusting to me. Mendez, aka Pornstache, is one of the worst guards, in my opinion. So, with Pornstache asking Tiffany, how did she survive infancy, in an exasperated way? But Tiffany did not read it as exasperated. She literally thought he was asking her how she survived infancy. So she responds with, well, my auntie helped my mama. And he stops her and says, that's a rhetorical question. Oh, Tiffany. All the signs were there, girl. All the signs were there. She didn't understand, but nobody listened to her. They just yelled at her and called her stupid. He's screaming at her in her face. Do you not understand what a fucking rhetorical question is? And at this point, Sophia is laughing at her, which I kind of understand why, because Tiffany was literally just coming at Sophia, calling her an abomination. So I get why she's laughing, but I feel bad for Tiffany here. I feel like nobody should be treated like this, being yelled at like this and called stupid. It's a lot. It's a lot. In the next scene, we see Bennett coming out of the woodshed with some tools, but of course he stops by the little cubbyhole he shares with Daya. He picks up the coffee cup and finds Daya's note there. The note simply says, I like to see you when you're nice. Ha ha, LOL. And the back of the note has a little caricature of Bennett. It's actually kind of cute. Daya's got some skills. It's cute. Then we're back at the chapel and the ladies are cleaning up all the garbage from the ceiling falling in at the front of the chapel. They're doing so without masks on, and Piper notices that Lushek has a mask. And Piper says, hey, I thought we might get some masks too. Lushek simply says, there's not enough, and walks away. Like, so much for your health, but I'm gonna keep my mask on, thanks. Funnily enough, as he walks away, I can see another mask hanging from his tool belt. Like, bro, You have not only one, but two masks, and you're telling Piper that you don't have enough masks? Give me a break. Piper sees Nicky and asks her about the chicken. And Nicky's like, the chicken, why are you talking about this? It's nothing. It's Red's version of the white whale. It doesn't exist. And Piper's like, no, I really saw it. I did. So Piper says to Nicky, oh, so I guess that means you're not going to come search with us after work? And Nicky's like, search for the chicken? And Piper says, yeah, we're going to search the yard. Morello invited me. That's when Nicky says, Morello and I are sort of taking a break. And Piper says, I'm so sorry to hear that. What happened? Nicky says that Morello still thinks her relationship with her fiance isn't doomed. And yeah, I guess she thinks that. Nicky says she'll be back. Nothing lasts, which is a heartbreaking thought to hear someone say. Nothing lasts. It makes me think that she's had a lot of loss, which makes me pretty sad for her. In the next scene, we see Aleida. She's playing dominoes with some of the Spanish ladies. So we have Aleida sitting in between Gloria and Daya, and they're sitting across from Maritza and Flaca. Gloria looks over at the field and she sees Piper and Red looking for the chicken. And she's like, what's going on over there? In Spanish, so we know Daya can't understand. Flaca responds and says that Red's looking for the chicken again. Most of the girls think that the chicken thing is really stupid. They're thinking, what's the big deal about a chicken? But Maritza thinks that there's something else to the chicken. She tells them a story about how a guy that she knows used to bring in drugs by putting the drugs inside of birds. She tells them that the guy that she used to know used to take the drugs, put them in a little baggie, and then stick them down, usually a pigeon's throat. She says, but maybe they put it in the butt too, which is very interesting given the events of season 7. But we'll get there. So most of the Latinas think it's all BS, but Maritza keeps going on and on about it might be worth some money. So eventually Maritza and Flaca put the dominoes down and go off to find the chicken. That's when Gloria goes off too. Aleida says in Spanish, you have to be fucking kidding me. You too? Gloria responds in Spanish, I'm not stupid. I'm just gonna go watch the stupid. I guess in prison, there's not that much entertainment. So when something silly like this is going on, why not go watch? Free entertainment, right? That's when we hear Pusey say, yo, the Spanish mommy's got something going on. So obviously she's noticing that they got something going on over there. That's when Aleida looks over at Daya and she says, aren't you gonna go too? You don't wanna go look for the chicken? And Daya's like, nah. Aleida says, no, you'd rather just sit and scribble love notes. Like, I see you, girl. I know what you're doing. You ain't slick. Aleida says, don't play dumb. I know what you're doing. I saw you leave a kite and I know who for. Aleida tells Daya, you're wasting your time with that one. And Daya looks away dejectedly. Aleida says, not that you're not pretty. I don't mean it like that. Aleida tells Daya, if you're gonna fuck a guard, fuck a fat one. At least he'll be appreciative. Maybe he'll let you sneak in cigarettes and bring you some McDonald's. So while it comes out harsh, really the bottom line is Aleida is trying to help her daughter to survive. She's telling her, if you're gonna go about things this way, if you're doing this to get something out of it, then this is the best way to go about it. This is the person that will probably give you the best bang for your buck. If you will. Daya says to her mom, is that what you think is going on? I don't fuck dudes for Big Macs. And Aleida says, oh, but you fuck them though. She's like, so what do you fuck them for? For love? Like, really? Give me a break. It's funny, but it's also kind of sad. You know that sound on TikTok? It's like, it's funny, but it's serious, isn't it? I can see Aleida's trauma all over her with that. I feel sad for her that she hasn't known love. When Daya walks away, Aleida looks at her note and she sees a picture that Daya drew of her making out with Bennett. And Aleida rips it out and crumples it. The action of Aleida crumpling the picture transitions us into the next backstory scene where we see little Ava picking at paint on the wall of their apartment. When Ava hears Daya come in, she runs to her and she's asking her for something to eat. Daya is saying, there's food in the kitchen. How come you haven't gotten anything to eat yet? That's when we hear a roar of laughter from the kitchen. It sounds like her mom has people over, so I guess Ava didn't feel comfortable going in there, which, yeah, I've been in those shoes before. Well, number one, it's not just that mom had some people over. It's that they have a whole drug operation going on in their kitchen. We see a bunch of ladies sitting at the kitchen table, bagging up drugs, and we have Cesar just overseeing them, entertaining them with stories and jokes. And what joke do we hear him telling? When the camera gets into this room, we hear Cesar say, and Paco's like, he's not an eggplant, he's retarded. Where have we heard that joke before? From Red, remember? I told you it was going to come back up. So this is the second time we're hearing it now. Whole different culture, whole different generation, and they're still telling the same joke. I think it's hilarious that the joke gets around like that, but I still don't understand the joke, and I still don't agree with the word. But I digress. So Daya comes in the kitchen to make some macaroni and cheese for her little sister, and as she's about to make it, Cesar starts being low-key kind of flirty with her, asking her to make him some as well. And it looks like Aleida is not feeling those vibes, so she tries to break up their little conversation to the point where Cesar ends up giving Daya money and tells her to go get some real food outside. When Daya leaves, Aleida's at a whole different demeanor. She's no longer laughing and joking. And she asks Cesar, how much longer do we have to do this here? Meaning, how much longer are we doing this operation out of our kitchen? I think that she's probably annoyed of having him around her family, around her daughter. But the thing is, it's not in the sense that she wants to protect her so much. It doesn't feel that way. It almost feels like she's jealous of her in this instance. In other instances, we'll see she is for sure being a protective mom. But in this one, it looks like she's being a little bit jealous, which, I mean, it's just a whole lot of weird and twisted behavior going on here. So Cesar says Pepe may have found a new spot, so they may be out of here pretty soon. He says to her, what's the matter? You don't like me anymore? He gets all up in her face and Aleida gives him a big old kiss because she's a sucker. She just wants attention. That's all she wants. Love and attention. And she wants it in any way that she can get it. The next scene, we're back at the prison and Yoga Jones is holding a yoga class in the multi-purpose room. That's when another group of inmates come in and they interrupt. Yoga Jones is like, what are you guys doing? And they're telling her they're having AA. They're going to have to split the room because the chapel is wrecked. Nicky and Suzanne don't seem to mind. They'd rather look at the ladies doing their bend over yoga, but the ladies are not very comfortable with that. Understandably so. So Yoga Jones says she's going to go get Caputo to see if he can help with the scheduling issue. As Piper's doing her yoga moves, she bends over, and when she opens her eyes, she sees Alex. And she's like, am I messing up your zen? Piper's like, no, I wouldn't want to accidentally kick you in your face. Okay, Piper. Throwing stones. You don't even know what happened yet, but you're already throwing stones. All right. Piper's scrappy. In the next scene, we're in the library and we see Sister Engel sitting there with Sophia. She's reading an excerpt from the Bible and Sophia is asking her what that helps her with. Sister Engel says it's just something that she reads to herself when she feels like her ass looks fat. That's when Sophia jumps right in and says, oh, so you do understand what I've been going through. Like, girl, you understand? You want to share some pills? We see your motives here, Sophia. Sophia says, so you've been through menopause, Sister Engels? And she's like, oh, yeah. And so Sophia asks her, did you just pray to get through it? And Sister Engel says, yeah, more or less. That's when Sophia says quickly, what's the more part and the less? Sister Engel says, well, I also exercise regularly. So Sophia is trying to appeal to Sister Engels and she's telling her, you know, it's just that I've been through so much and I don't want to lose what I've got. And, you know, I sacrificed all the sacrifices I've made to become the woman that I am, you know? And so Sister Engels is like, yeah, I get it. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. I'm so happy for you. But you're not getting my hormones. You can cut the act, girl. I'm on to you. And no, the answer is no. Sister Engels continues and she's like, so shall we continue the scripture? Sophia says, you knew this whole time? Sister Engels tells Sophia, you may be unhappy, but it has nothing to do with your body. She tells her, if you were truly a woman, you'd never be happy with that anyway, which is a little bit insensitive, you know, saying if you were truly a woman, but also as a woman, I don't know any woman who is 100% happy with her body. So I think to be a woman, part of it might be to be a little bit unhappy with their body. Except me, I'm flawless. No, I'm kidding. Sister Engels tells Sophia that she has guilt. Sophia laughs and she's like, about what? Sister Engels says, about leaving your wife to take care of Michael alone. That must have hit Sophia a little too close to home because she seems really distressed when she jumps up and she just says, you don't talk to me about that. Just leave me alone. And she storms out of the library. Here's a classic Taystee scene. I've seen this scene referenced a lot on Reddit and it does make me laugh every time too. So we're transitioning back over to the AA meeting that crashed the yoga class that was going on in the multi-purpose room. We hear Taystee and she's up at the AA podium giving her story. Taystee says, so there I am, topless, sitting on this bulldozer like in a construction site. So I'm sitting there, barbecue sauce on my titties. And I'm like, what the fuck? Again? And then she goes on about how she looks down and she sees this dude laying on the ground. She says that he's got barbecue sauce all over his face and he's dead. Which at that point, Nicky sits up like, oh my gosh, really? That's crazy. Taystee concludes her story by saying, and that's when I knew it was time to make a change. Thank you. That story comes up all the time as one of her funniest moments, and I agree, that's a pretty funny story. Although I'm a little bit concerned for the guy, and I don't know what happened there, and I don't think they ever explain. When Taystee goes to sit down, Suzanne chimes in and says, almost the exact same thing happened to me, but it was tuna salad. What are these girls getting into? Miss Rosa asks if anybody else feels like sharing at the AA meeting. That's when Alex pipes up and says, I will. For some reason, Piper is back in the room in the yoga class. I could have sworn she walked out of this room in the last scene, but okay, now she's back in the class, just in time to hear Alex's speech. So Alex is at the podium at the AA meeting, and she starts with, I don't have a great rock bottom story because my rock bottom is happening right now. Alex says she never thought that she'd be someplace like this. She says that they're all great, but she just never thought that she'd be here in prison. She always thought of herself as somebody who was in control, and she felt like she was in control for a while. She says she felt more in control back in the times when she only dealt heroin. And then she clarifies to say, well, actually, I was an importer, with a little tilt of her glasses, in a way only Alex can. Alex continues and says that she was going through a bad breakup and then clarifies it to say, no, actually, it was more like I was abandoned. And when she says that she was abandoned, that's when Piper gets upset, scoffs, and she turns away to storm out again. Alex continues and says that it was during that abandonment that she started using heroin again. She says that heroin was the best girlfriend that she ever had, which, damn, that makes me feel really sad for her. Alex says that heroin always made her feel better and heroin was always available, which, damn, that's really sad. All she's looking for is connection. Love and connection. So many people in this prison, they're just looking for love and connection. Well, there we go. That's when Alex says, but even the best girls will fuck you over, you know? That's when Piper gets all angry and she's like, yeah, you would fucking know, wouldn't you? And everybody's looking at Piper like, ooh, what they got going on? What is she talking about? What's all this energy? What's going on? In the next scene, we see Larry talking to his father, and he's telling him, Dad, please, I know you don't like Piper, but I'm asking you to help me. His dad's like, who says I don't like her? I like her. She's fine. She's the nicest felon you ever dated. Nice one, Dad. So Larry's dad tells him that he looked over the documents, and they state unequivocally it was Alex Voss who named Piper in this case, which means Alex Voss is the reason why Piper's in prison. But will Larry tell Piper? Let's find out. He says it's good that Piper will know because it will make Piper hate Alex even more. And that'll mean that Piper will stay away from Alex, which I guess is what Larry wants in the end, is for Piper to stay away from Alex. So I guess he wins in this situation. Larry's father advises him not to tell Piper. He says the last thing that Piper needs now is an enemy to obsess over. Don't tell her. He thinks it's better if she just serves her time and leaves without any trouble. Oh, sir. If only. There's no way that Piper is going to just serve her time and leave without any trouble. Piper loves to get herself in some trouble. Larry's father continues. He's like, try to keep Piper focused on her life outside, her friends, your life together, your wedding. He adds, whether or not you actually decide to go through with it. So I guess we'll see if Larry decides to go with his gut and tell Piper in an effort to keep her away from Alex, or if he goes with what his father advises and doesn't tell her, and letting her just serve out her time peacefully. We'll see. In the next scene, we see a group of the black girls. They have a dog with them looking for the chicken. Where they got this dog from, I have no idea. We see a lot of the ladies out in the field looking for the chicken. When Piper comes outside, she sees Trisha and she asks, what's going on? Trisha says there's $1,000 inside of a chicken somewhere, so everybody's looking for it. That's the game of telephone. Nobody said there's $1,000 in a chicken, but I guess everyone needs something to hope for. So right now, the excitement of the day is the chicken. Red comes over to Piper and she's like, this is all your fault. You've been blabbing about the chicken all over, haven't you? I guess Red is annoyed because so many people know about her bird. Piper's like, not really, but even if I had, you didn't tell me it was a secret. Red says, because I thought you had common sense. The black girls hear about a chicken. Of course this would happen. I mean, I'm black and I think that's funny. Sorry. I know, whatever. It's funny. A little bit of a stereotype? Sure. But is it funny? Absolutely. Piper says, why? Because all black people love chicken? Just calling it out, you know? But Red says, don't be racist because they're all on heroin. Because that's not racist? Oh my gosh, Red. I would have rather the chicken comment than the heroin comment, but Red is working with stereotypes right now. And I don't like that one. I don't even know that one. Anyways, Piper's like, listen, I don't know what's going on with this game of telephone, but I just told you what I saw. That's it. I didn't add anything extra. I don't know what's going on. Oh gosh. Red says, all I wanted was to eat the chicken that is smarter than the other chickens and to absorb its power. Okay. I mean, it makes sense with Red's character that she wants power, but this is a very outlandish way to go about it, even for Red. That's when Piper starts hyping up Red. She's like, so are you going to quit? That chicken is waiting for you to eat it, Red. What do those other girls have that you don't have? Just hyping her up like, girl, why don't you go out there and get your bird? Piper says that Red is the woman who was born to eat that chicken, completely hyping her up to where Red decides to go storming back towards the field saying, that's my chicken. I guess she's going to go look for the chicken after all. Because everybody was running, the alarm was hit, and now in the next scene, we're seeing all the ladies in the yard are face down on the grass. Pornstache is standing over them, degrading them as always. He's asking them, do you want to get shot? Trust me, we've got a lot of bullets up in that guard tower, threatening them. He says you're not allowed to run. So why are you running? For a chicken? Pornstache is like, who told you there was a chicken in my yard? That's when the ladies look up and they start pointing at Piper, who looks like she just wants to crawl in a hole and bury herself. We then see Bennett go to grab another note. This time the note says, I want to see you tomorrow at 2 in the utility closet. So we have our first meetup at the utility closet, except this time there's no picture drawn on the back. So Bennett's looking a little bit disappointed, but he's still cool with it. He's going to roll with it. Then we see Poussey sitting in Mr. Healy's office. She's saying, it's not fair. He's like, of course it's fair. You know the rules about running. Who's next? So I guess Poussey's getting in some sort of trouble for running outside. Next is Chapman. So when Chapman comes in, Pornstache is being mean to her, like he's mean to all the girls. But Mr. Healy tells him that's not necessary and asks him to leave and close the door behind him because he gives Piper a lot of special treatment. Mr. Healy tells Piper that he's not sending her down the hill, meaning he's not sending her to SHU or solitary. He's telling her, you made a mistake. You're new. You get a pass. No biggie. He says you probably just wanted to impress people and be a big shot. It's so nice that Healy's able to have this kind of understanding for Piper. I just wish he would show the same kind of understanding to the other ladies as well. Piper insists that the chicken is real and she saw it, but Mr. Healy tells her that there's a triple razor wire fence around the entire camp, and there's no way possible that a chicken could have come inside the yard. Mr. Healy tells Piper, I don't care if you've seen this thing or not. I just don't want you exciting the other inmates with this kind of talk. Just stop talking about it. He goes on to say, they're not like you and me. They're less reasonable, less educated, which that's quite the judgment, Mr. Healy. I don't know that you really know enough about every single one of the other inmates to know that to be true. That's very bigoted. So no. How about no? Everybody in this prison is throwing around all kinds of racial stereotypes. He says, and I don't want you making up stories to Red. You know how Russians love chicken. Like, I didn't even know that was a Russian stereotype, but here we go. This show will show you every single stereotype there is and bring it to light. I guess Russians are not left out of the mix. As Piper is leaving Mr. Healy's office, we hear over the loudspeaker, the chicken does not exist. The chicken is an urban myth, a grand illusion, something to give your life meaning, but which is in fact not there. As Piper almost makes it to her bunk, Poussey stops her and says, hey, yo, chicken lady, I got my visitation revoked because of you. So because all of them were running, some of them got punished, and some punishments were things like this, getting her visitation revoked, which is horrible because that's their connection to the outside world. And we just saw Poussey in the visitation room earlier in this episode, visiting with her father. So now she's got less time to visit with her dad because of Piper. Well, not really because of Piper, more so because of the prison's unfair treatment of the prisoners. Hussein walks over to Piper and she's like, "So I lost my visitation. What'd you get?" And Piper just looks at her because she didn't lose anything. Hussein says, "Psh, I should have known." Because, yeah, there's a lot of unfair treatment in this prison. That's when Taystee pops up behind Piper and she's like, "I don't mess with heroin, but I love me some candy, so you better watch it with the stories." Like, don't play with my emotions, please. The next thing that we see is Sister Angles coming into Sophia's beauty shop. She sits down in her chair and she says, in some cultures, the transgender person is regarded as a shaman, just trying to get her foot in the door to make peace with Sophia. She's like, "I'm not here as a Catholic, I'm here as a friend." Sophia's opening up to Sister Angles here and she's saying, "I don't know why God had to give me this stupid penis." And Sister Angles responds with, "I don't know why any more than I know why he gave men nipples." So it's really refreshing to see Sister Engels being a woman of faith, a Catholic woman, speaking to Sophia in such a candid way about her issues and not letting their perceived differences get in the way. In the next scene, we see Piper on the phone with Larry and she's telling him, "Now they think I'm a liar. They think I made it up. Why would I make something like that up?" Talking about the chicken. This is her whole world. This is the most exciting thing that's gone on in her day, this chicken. But Larry's just kind of out of the loop. He's like, "I don't know." But anyways, you have that call with Weiner later, right? Piper takes this opportunity to tell Larry that she's so sorry that she didn't tell him about Alex. And she's saying that it really doesn't have anything to do with Piper being attracted to her. She tells him that she just didn't want him to know that she was in there with someone that she hates so much. Sure, Piper. Like, sure, Jan. We believe that. I don't believe it. Maybe Larry will. Piper tells Larry that Alex was in yoga trying to antagonize her, which I don't know if that's exactly how it went, Piper, but it seems like you're kind of obsessed with Alex. I'll tell you that. Piper goes on to say that she just wants to smash her in the face, which, again, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. Hate is another strong emotion. And Piper, you're bordering on that one, girl. Piper sounds like she's losing it. She says, "I bet Alex is the one that's spreading rumors about me. She's the one that's telling everyone that I've been lying about the chicken." Girl, no, but you sound like a crazy lady now. Larry says, "Okay, Piper, let's just drop the chicken thing for now." Larry says it's not important. Piper says, "It's my rep." Piper, your rep? You've been in prison 2 weeks. You have a rep? Larry's like, "Piper, don't get dragged into the prison drama, okay? Let's focus on real life." That's when Larry tells Piper that he spoke to his dad about the indictment. Piper's like, "Well, and what did he say? Did Alex name me?" And Larry lies. He says, "She didn't name you. I guess it was someone else in the ring." So since Piper was spiraling about the chicken, I guess he thought he would spare her the knowledge of knowing that Alex named her so she won't further spiral about that. I think that he thinks he was doing an act of kindness by not telling her the truth here. Larry tells Piper, "Well, this is a good thing. So now you can just do your time and just stay away from her. Just stay away from that asshole. Stay away from Alex." But Piper's got this wide-eyed look in her face and she's like, "But Larry, this means that I'm the asshole." I guess now she feels bad for treating Alex badly because she thought that Alex named her. Spoiler alert, Alex did name her. But right now, I guess she's feeling badly because she thinks that Alex did not name her. So, okay, let's start the Piper and Alex back and forth. In the next scene, we see CO Bennett. He's sitting in the guard bubble, and we see the time on the clock is 1:54 p.m., 6 minutes away from 2, and he's looking kind of nervous. The clock hits 1:55, and he jumps up off to the utility closet. He's got this big smile on his face, but when the light turns on, it's quickly gone because he realizes it's not Daya who's in there. It's Aleida. She is completely nude. She turns the lights off, and I think we're supposed to think that she seduces him there, but I don't think he's gonna do it. I guess we'll find out. In the next scene, we see a flashback to a time when Aleida was in prison, but before Daya was also in prison. So we see Daya here visiting her mother with her siblings, but Aleida doesn't seem very happy to see her kids at all. She's upset because Cesar is not there. She's saying, "I take the fall for that motherfucker. The least he could do is visit," which, I mean, that's true. If you took the fall for him, which that's dumb in itself, but if you did that and he can't even come visit you, that's kind of wild. I kind of feel bad for her there. But even more so, I feel bad for the kids who are sitting here trying to see their mom And they just look so disappointed that she doesn't even care if they're there or not. She's not giving them any love or attention. She's not giving them any smiles or affection. Nothing. I feel bad for her kids. All of a sudden, Aleida gets really upset and she's like, is Cesar bringing girls home? And Daya gets annoyed. She's like, here's a change of pace. How about you ask us how we're doing? Aleida's like, no, I want to know. Is he bringing girls around? Is he fucking around on me? Daya's like, you know that we took a bus 3 hours to get here? Meanwhile, her little daughter, Lucy, is saying, Mommy, I made a paper airplane. But Aleida is completely ignoring her. Instead, she decides to ask Daya, are you fucking him? To which Daya says, please, you've got to be kidding me. To accuse her daughter is insane. So again, Lucy's like, Mommy, like, I want you to look at my paper airplane. Finally, Aleida's like, what? And Lucy, she doesn't get upset or anything. She literally just says, I made a paper airplane. To which Aleida says, fine, where's your stupid airplane? And Lucy very sweetly is like, at home. She's sweet. But of course, rough Aleida says, well, then why do I care? If you want to show me something, you can't show me something I can't see. Girl, your daughter, what is she, like 6? Why are you being so rough to her? Aleida says, what are you, stupid? Oh, yeah, that's horrible. That's a horrible thing to say to a kid. Aleida then turns back to Daya and she's like, you tell that motherfucker he better come visit. He owes me. In the next scene, we see Daya arrive back at home. She walks into the kitchen and Cesar and some ladies are in there doing their drug thing. Daya ignores the ladies and she walks right over to Cesar and starts kissing him. Cesar tells the ladies to leave, and apparently Daya is about to do exactly what her mom was accusing her of and sleep with Cesar, because that's not toxic. Aw, and her little sisters, see, that's horrible. Those little kids are seeing way too much in that house. Between the sex and the women and the drugs, it's a lot. I feel so bad for those kids. In the next scene, we're back at the prison and Piper is on the phone trying to get patched in to speak to Weiner about her and Polly's business, Poppy. But Polly can't figure out how to work her phone, so she goes off to ask Pete for some help. Meanwhile, Piper looks out the window and sees the chicken. Piper is in total disbelief. She starts getting so wide-eyed and excited. She hits Taystee, who's on the phone next to her. She's like, hey, do you see this? And Taystee's like, get off me. And she goes back to her phone call, but Piper's so excited. She's like, there it is. The guard starts asking her, hey, are you using the phone or not? Like, hurry it up or it's time to get out of here. So while Piper is looking at her, by the time she turns back to the window, the chicken is gone. Once we see that the chicken is gone, we see Polly come back to the phone and she's like, okay, I've got it. I'm going to punch you in to speak to Weiner now. But when we get back to the prison, Piper has let go of the phone. It looks like she left the phone call for her business in search of this chicken, which I think Piper's completely involved with prison life at this point, to the point where she's neglecting her business for a chicken that may or may not be there. Oh, Piper, she's lost her connection to the outside world. That's when Suzanne picks up the line and Polly's asking, Piper, are you there? But Suzanne says, Dandelion ain't here right now. She's gone to chase the chicken. I'm sorry, but it looks like a real chicken to me. When Piper gets outside, the chicken is there. She starts running towards it when Pornstache stops her. He's like, what did I tell you about running? Piper's like, sorry, I'm just trying to get some fitness, that's all. Pornstache says, there's 2 speeds in my yard, walk and shuffle. So Piper shuffles off to go chase after the chicken. We're seeing her go throughout the whole yard, past Bennett's little cubby hole and everything. By the time she gets over there, she gets to a gate, which is a dead end, and the chicken is somehow on the other side of it. Did it fly? Is there a hole somewhere? What the heck happened? I don't know. But the chicken is now on the other side of the gate. And the camera does this great zoom out in phases where we see Piper and the chicken up close, and then we see them further and further out. And it's just a great shot of Piper on the other side of the fence in a cage, while the chicken is on the outside of the fence completely free. And that's where we get our orange screen indicating the end of the episode, with the ending music being Chicken, Chicken, You Can't Cluck Too Much For Me. Another song choice that's perfectly on point. So again, IMDb rated this episode as 7.8. I'm really not a fan of the chicken of it all, but I do enjoy the Diaz's backstories and learning more about them and their dynamic. I also enjoyed seeing more from some of the other characters in the prison. We got some more from the Latinas today and some more from some of the Black girls, even more with Red and the kitchen crew, and more with Tiffany and the religious crew. It was nice to see more of the people in the prison in this episode. So I will give it that. For me, I'm probably going to go a little bit lower than a 7.8. I think I will give this episode a 7.6. Yeah, I'm going to say a 7.6. It was a good episode. I don't think any of these episodes are horrible, but I'm just not really a fan of the chicken. And while I do enjoy seeing more of the people in the prison, it's just not my favorite episode. But that's okay if it's not my favorite episode. If it's your favorite episode, please let me know in the comments. Let me know what your episode rating is. Again, IMDb's was a 7.8. Mine is a 7.6. Let me know what you think. Next week's episode is going to be season 1, episode 6, The Whack Pack. The IMDb synopsis for that episode states, the inmates must campaign amongst their races for a coveted spot as a prisoner's representative. Piper steers clear of the bizarre political process, but might not have a choice but to get involved. Larry's editor wants him to write an article about Piper's incarceration. Also, in that episode, we will be getting backstories from Nicky as well as Piper and Alex. So I actually don't remember everything about that episode, but I do remember that episode as being a pretty funny one. I like seeing the racial dynamics in the prison. That's always pretty funny to me. While they are going to be definitely showing some stereotypes in that episode and all throughout the series, to be honest, I think it's definitely spread evenly among all groups. So in that case, it's all fair game. We'll just take it for what it is and enjoy the show. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for hanging with me in Yadda Space. Don't forget to comment your favorite lines from the episode and let me know what your personal rating is for this week's episode. Again, IMDb's was a 7.8. Mine is a 7.6, but I want to know what you think. I would love to hear yours. If you aren't already, please make sure you are following the Yadda Space Pod on your favorite podcast platform, YouTube, TikTok, so you don't miss out on future episodes. Also, like the theme song says, it's Yadda Space with 2 E's. Okay, thanks for listening. I'll catch up with y'all next time here at Yadda Space.
Hey, welcome friends to Yadda Space. I'm Yadda here, let's set the pace. This is a rewatch podcast, so let's begin. Orange is the new black is where we dive in. Taystee's wisdom sets the tone. Jose's heart feels like home. Nicky's got that quick one fire. Morello's love of love lifts us higher. Spoilers everywhere, so be warned. Super fast, please come aboard. Sue's special mind, they'll all these ideas because they think that everything's truly as it is. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah. Oh, 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 oh. Let's kitchen rules the game. Glorious strength, she keeps the flame. Aleda's hustle never quits. Looks the tales are gems every bit. Every episode